Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's the Pivotal Podspective again. Welcome. How are you all doing today? I hope you've had a great day wherever you are, or it's starting your day or finishing your day or in the afternoon, wherever you guys are. And we know that we go out all over the world now. Then I hope you've had a good one. Well, listen, we're here for another one of these episodes. And I'm here with, obviously, my co-host,
Adrian. Hello, everyone.
And our guest author extraordinaire, Russell Nohelty. Is that how you say it? That is how you say it.
It's very close. Russell Nohelty. It's like Nick Nolte, but spelled differently.
I do apologize. Listen, what can I do? I've done it now. We're live. And you're based in Los Angeles, right? What's the weather like over there at the moment? Because it's changed here. It's a bit shit right now.
Yeah, it's actually wonderful. It was very hot the last couple of days, but we, about a month ago, invested in one of those portable air conditioner units that we can roll between rooms.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
It's lovely now. And it used to be super hot in this room, but now that we have our nice air conditioner unit, it's beautiful in here.
Nice. I'm jealous. I love a bit of air conditioning, to be honest.
I think we're jealous because actually, it would be nice to have the need for one here in UK, but with the current weather, it's not really possible.
No, well, we did a couple of weeks ago. We had a heat wave, and then as soon as we've had a heat wave, I think our summer's over now. But Britain is known for this shit, though, isn't it? To be fair, everybody knows the fact that it's either cloudy or sunshine. There's very little in between.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's by the by. So welcome to the Pivotal Podspective, Russell. Thanks for coming on. You are an author extraordinaire, but it isn't just about that, is it? You've got a course, and you are the complete creative. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we're going to get into finding out what your Pivotal Podspective is today.
Sure. So I am a USA Today best-selling author of magic, mythology, and monsters. You can see some of my books behind me. I run a company called Wannabe Press, but my what I've been doing when I'm on podcasts is I talk about my secondary company, which is 2 years ago, I cut the educational wing of Wannabe Press off into its own company called The Complete Creative, where we show creatives how to make the best work of their life and share it with the world. So it's mindset, it's creating, it's marketing and sales. And I kind of, when I started authorship, I realized that there's a lot of authors who can talk about creating a book, right? Like Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson or J.K. Rowling. There's literally millions of authors who are more qualified than me to talk about the making of a book.
Sure.
What there wasn't was a lot of people talking about how to then go about and sell that book. Yeah. Now, there's since been, in the 10 years since I've been really focused on this, a lot more people coming in to talk about the business of art and the business of writing, but there's still very few. So I've been able to sort of wedge my way into the conversation by dealing with this part that most people don't really want to talk to and aren't qualified to talk to. And that sticky part of creativity, which is actually making a career out of it instead of just doing it for free or losing money on it.
And that can happen quite a lot as creatives. You sort of get carried away with the creative side and don't necessarily look at the back end of how that's going to actually be monetized and make you money, isn't it?
Absolutely. So here's the thing: is most creative pursuits are very, very, very bad business ideas from the jump. We're talking about books. There is no worse business than books. They are high cost, low margin. There are millions of them. People are discounting them like crazy. Yeah. And it's a complete red ocean. If you went and told someone the idea for a book, if they didn't know what books were, you just were like, I'm going to pitch you this idea, and here are the constraints. People would say, you're crazy. So you're going into a creative pursuit already with the knowledge. And that is whether you're going into film or television or music, all of them have the same kind of constraints. They're horrible business ideas from the start.
Right,
so you have to be dogged about doing the business part right to even stand a chance. And the nice thing is, because most creatives are horrible just absolute shit at like doing the business part, if you can just be mediocre at it.
Yeah.
It's not like most businesses where the business people are going into them and you have to be like great just to get even in the conversation. If you can do the business stuff and do it well, not even great, just like well, maybe even adequately, like you will be so far ahead of all the other creatives because most creatives, 99.9% of them, never ever think of this.
I mean, listen. I think if I was going to put it into, it's the right, left and right brain, isn't it? You know, you've got the creative side, and you've got your analytical side. Here's the creative, and we've talked about this quite a lot. But I definitely have an analytical side after all these years, and you sort of train yourself to look at things differently. And then Adrian over here is the analytical with the creative side. So that's that balance. And having more of one or the other, you've got to have a fine balance of both, haven't you, to make it work?
Yeah. So when I train creators sort of how to do this, the first step is sort of you need to keep the creative part sacrosanct. So the actual, like, while you're in the process of making this show, so like from 1 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock there to 10 o'clock. That's the creative part. Like that needs to be very much sort of protected. Yeah. But that part from the moment you wake up until 9 o'clock, and then from 9 o'clock to whenever you go to bed, that's when the business part can kick in. And that's when, for me, for instance, like I'm analyzing book covers or data or making plans for like launches or releases. Okay. And afterwards, I'm actually doing all of the mailing lists and all of that part. So there's really two parts of it.
So you're saying your business later in the day, creative earlier. Was that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I actually have trained myself to be. I'm very much into time blocking. So I come from a background in sales. Like I used to be a sales manager at a cell phone retailer. Right. And so I am very much in the time blocking area, which is red time, yellow time, green time. And so my green time for me is writing time. And I do that from 9 to 2 every day, unless I'm doing a day like this, which is promotion heavy.
That's regimental. How the fuck do you do that? You just keep to these blocks, do you? That's how you work.
Yeah, so I actually have different days to block. So I have a promotion day like this where I'm on a bunch of podcasts, and I will do podcasts from the time I get up till about 3 o'clock. Right. And so that's not a writing day. My green time in that day and the changes day to day is doing these podcasts. So like, this is the thing that I'm moving forward. This is the thing that's actually like making me money. Maybe not now, but in like the future, hopefully, or the brand is expanding or something is happening in this day. It's the most important part of the day. And I try and do that. And I block that out for long periods of time. And then I do my yellow time activities, which are like the admin activities or customer service, the things that like aren't like the most pressing part of it, but still important for a business. And I block them in the beginning and before and after my green time. Right. And then my red time is when I'm taking time off. So like when I'm eating dinner or I'm playing with my new dog or I am taking a nap or all of that stuff. But yes, I'm very regimented. And I have found that the entrepreneurship is all about cutting waste and moving focus to the right place at the right time. So most entrepreneurs are so scattered that they're pulled in 100 different ways, and it prevents them from really doubling down and doing deep work. And so I have found that for me, at least, and for most entrepreneurs that I talk to, the best thing that they can do is create sort of a pyramid where all of the things are focused in the same direction, and they have their one big goal. The one thing, I don't know if you've read that book, but like the one thing that's moving them forward.
Books. No, I'm really bad.
Oh, that's okay. So there's this idea called the one thing, which is like the one thing that's going to move you to the next level. Yeah. And like, it's like sort of like the big domino. So I don't know if you've ever seen those YouTube videos where you have like a 1-inch domino and then a 2-inch domino and a 4-inch and 12-inch. And eventually at the top, you get like a 10-foot domino. Right. And by tapping the 1-inch one, eventually the big one goes over. And so everything from everything that moves your career forward goes sort of under that pyramid, under this one thing. Yeah. And then everything else that doesn't actually move that goal forward gets cut. And so for me, entrepreneurship is about cutting all of the BS stuff so that you can focus on the most important things. And the more you can double down into that $50, $500 an hour activity, then you are going to see yourself moving forward. And then, and for me, at least, that allows me to be under leveraged. So that means that at any day I have hours free. Like I have like 5-10 hours of free, just like playtime from like 2 to 5. I basically do maybe even 2 to like 7. I just like do nothing but kind of think, nap, read books, like go and take a walk, all of that stuff. Because I'm waiting for that really good like idea, that like great idea that's really going to jump me to the next level. And that allows me to by being under leveraged, by doing this time blocking and by focusing all of my energy into like the one thing that's going to move me forward, it allows that when that great idea comes along, like I used to do virtual summits for the last couple of months. I've done 3 virtual summits, and that idea over leveraged me for a small amount of time, but it gave me the ability to make a massive impact. And we as entrepreneurs are spending so much time in the minutia of our life, the minutia of these things that are not really going to pan out, these like little low value activities that we're not able to take advantage of those things that are really going to leap us forward. And so I found that the way that I schedule my life, and I'm pretty regimented about it. I'm not perfect, but I'm usually pretty good at hitting all of my numbers. Then I have the ability to clear my calendar to do the work that I was meant to do, and then to take the opportunities that are going to move me the most amount forward in the shortest amount of time.
Adrian, I mean, this must resonate with you. I mean, this is some like deep down like planning here, and like being very regimented, very planned, very strategic, and clearly this works for you. I can see that you're dogged at doing that, and that works for you. I mean, that must you must love this, Adrian. I mean, I'm all over the place, me.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because usually when I try to do things like this, I go so deep into something that I cannot really let it go. So even though I say I am working from 9 to 2 o'clock on this and just purely on that, if I'm really deep into it, usually I just forget what time it is, and I just end up seeing that it's 8 p.m. and I just overstepped on that. So how do you do that? How do you just let that go?
I don't. If I'm in the flow of something, I don't let it go. Like I will do that, but. You've got your time blocked out though, so surely you must just get to a point where you just have to stop, or when you're like that, do you just continue doing what you're doing? Well, so the most important part is the green time. So like as long as I'm doing a green time activity from 9 to 2, a green time activity can bleed into a yellow time or a red time activity. Yeah. A yellow time activity can bleed into a red time activity. Right. A red time activity can bleed into nothing else. So green time activity can go all day. Sometimes I'll have meetings for a project that I'm working on, and like I'll have to spend more time than I thought. And I'm like, guess I don't get my nap or long walk that day. But because I have that time blocked up of like, I must do green time work for these 5 hours. It is essential. If I want to get the book done on time, or if I want to get all of these interviews done this week, I've got to do it from like this time to this time. Yeah. And then I can move forward, and like, so I have to stay up till 11 o'clock answering emails instead of going to bed at 9. Like, it's not like that part's not the big deal. It's knowing that I have the green time every day. And I know because I've tested it on myself. Yeah. 7 a.m. is not good to start green time activities for me because like I have not gotten in the flow of the day yet. I like then get 2 p.m. I'm already like knackered from the day. I'm already done for the day. So I have just said I can do 5 hours of writing and I can get 1,000 words down every hour, and I can do that consistently. And I know that every day I can get up and do that. And if I do that, I will finish a book every month or two. And
go on.
Sorry, and that is sort of, and so by having all of those sort of basic pieces, then I can do things like extend that time block or do whatever. I just want to make sure that when I'm time blocking myself, I have the green time activities, and then the yellow time activities don't bleed into the green time.
Okay, but I mean, this works for you, right? So, but you roll this out to people that you work with, and you sort of almost, in essence, you coach them in these things as well, right?
I do.
Because for me personally, those hours do not work for me at all. I'm business in the daytime, creative at night, get more creative, and they get to like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, for example, last night I was up till 5. So 5 in the morning. So, and I was very creative during the night. I'm planning, I'm doing strategies and bits and pieces like that, and also doing artwork and bits and pieces like that for posts and things like that. So I work very, very differently to try and maybe fit into what you do. I don't know that would work for me personally. So how do you get over that if it was somebody like myself and you went, what would be your advice there? How would that work?
I would say that you need to have a minimum amount of time that you're going to do the work that you're going to do. And it needs to be consistent every day, because otherwise life will bleed into it. And it doesn't have to be 9 to 2. That's what's good for me. It might be right now until 2 in the morning. But it's quite, it takes time, but you can find the circadian rhythm of when you are the most creative. You said that it's now until, let's say, 2 a.m. Then you have to be like, hey, Adrian, don't come to me with business stuff. I'm not taking this meeting until 2 a.m. I'm taking it at 7 at night or 2, whenever your business mind is the most up. So you need to, so you're actually kind of doing this. So what I would say is you need to protect that time.
Yeah.
Instead of, because what generally happens for creative people or any kind of people is they will say, oh yeah, I'll take that meeting at 11 at night about some other concept or some other thing, and it will totally ruin their flow. And so just being a little bit more conscious of that is your sacred time is what I would advise for you.
Yeah.
Okay, but basically what I got from this is more like a ranking system and not necessarily the hours that you're working and all that. Am I right with this? And obviously green is the most productive, and the best part of this ranking system is the one that's going to bring you money and everything. Then yellow, it's something in between, and red is more like probably the relaxation time or whatever you do in this. Am I right with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I do think that it is important to have a consistent schedule every day, because you will, when you've been doing this for a while, like we all have, like you kind of understand your rhythm. But like, because we're entrepreneurs, like we want to say yes to everything. We want to be like, yep, I'll take that meeting at like 2 in the afternoon, even though I get up at 4. Like I'll do all these things because like I want the money. I want the opportunity. So you end up doing idea switching or time switching, and you lose a ton of bandwidth. Studies show 50% or more time is spent like just switching between activities. And if you can instead spend even 2 hours doing deep work every day, just like you try and get into that deep work state. I don't find like you can really do it in 2 hours. Like it's not on command, but if you have like a time blocked out that you are most creative, 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, you'll find a way, your body will find a way to do that work in that time, because that's the time you're already doing it. So I do think it's about prioritizing, but I also think it's about saying from this time to this time, I'm not taking meetings. On Tuesday and Wednesday, I am not taking meetings. Like, for instance, I do a lot of these podcasts. I just started a couple of months ago. I've been on maybe 80 or 90 of them at this point.
You've been on 80 or 90 podcasts?
Yeah, something like that in the past, since like March. I've been doing this testing. I've been over leveraging myself to like test whether it's true that like the podcast guesting is the best way to get connection to your own podcast. To get people to go to your own podcast.
Apparently it is. I've been a guest once.
Yeah. So I also don't know if it's right. So one of the other things
it is. No, the people that are absolutely smashing it are make a concerted effort to get on other people's shows. They've all got audiences, haven't they? So even if you only get a small percentage of those people liking what you're doing, what you're saying, you are going to attract that into your own audience. You pull a few people into your own audience and make them your own audience, don't you?
Well, that is what I've been told, but like I don't believe what anybody says ever about anything. I have to test it myself. So I have this one of the other things that I do when that's not time blocking is I schedule I schedule times and for testing. Very concerted effort for testing. So for instance, I'm getting to the end after this month of doing 100 guest appearances. I've been trying to get to 100 guest appearances so that I could test like whether this thing that they're saying is true, whether I will start seeing a spike in the downloads of my own show.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that over a year or 2 years. I chose to do it in an accelerated amount of time so that I could wait, so that I didn't have to wait to see if I was getting that return. So in a couple of months, when these shows start coming out in bursts, I will have the data much more quickly than someone who's like, I'm going to be on 100 shows in this year. Yeah. So I have this exercise that I do, which is, what would it look? What do I want my career to look like in 10 years? And then I come up sort of with an idea, and then I say, what would it look like if I to do that in 1 year? What would I have to do? It might be write 18 books. It might be attend 50 shows, whatever the thing is. But I then try and take that and crunch it down. And I like the number 100. So a lot of my testing is 100 shows or 100 podcast episodes or 100 appearances, just because then my brain can easily wrap around like getting it into a standard bell curve. So yeah, for the last few months, I've been on this sort of binge of trying to get on 100 shows and seeing if it actually is going to service me.
And come on, and how's it going so far then? I mean, what have you got off it? If you've done 80 shows, surely you must have noticed something.
So what I noticed is at the beginning when I first, so I will say a lot of the shows haven't come out yet because there's usually like an 8 to 12 week buffer before like a show will actually come out. So
really,
a lot of the
8 to 12 week buffer. Why?
Because people want to get ahead. And so I don't know, but I have found that at the minimum it's 4 weeks. At the most, it's been like literally 26 weeks. They said
the worst that we are, and I'm actually behind at the moment in getting the audio podcasts up. I think there was the first three. So I'm about 3 weeks behind, but then I will be caught up. And then generally by in the next week or so, what we tend to do is obviously we do the live or record, and then we'll put the audio up afterwards after a few days or whatever, and then the videos go up onto YouTube and things like that. Now we're actually obviously going across YouTube, Twitter. Today we're on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook group as well. Hi everybody. So yeah, I don't quite understand why they take such a long time. Sophie Payne has said such good advice. I think that I think Russell has got I mean the pyramid and the blocking timeout. It's a slightly different twist, I think, on what I think we all know that we probably should do. And I definitely don't.
Well, a lot of my career is spent trying to validate or or disprove for myself my own personal life, these things that work. And then I think we live in a world that that we think perfection is the only way that we can get it. If I'm not time blocking 100%, it's better to do it nothing. If we're not marketing at 100%, if I'm not perfect at email marketing, what's even the point? For me, I've always believed that productivity or marketing or writing, the only good marketing or writing or productivity is what you do. So hey, if you can only get to 10% of productivity, awesome. That's better than 0%. And I have this policy where I always try and make future Russell's life better every day. So, future Russell's life sucked a few years ago. And every day I just made it a point to be what could I do to make that person's life better? And then in 3 months, suddenly I was a little bit better off. Okay. And then I went from that place to be what can I do to make Russell's life better 3 months from now? And suddenly after about a year or two, future Russell's life was way better. I cut out a lot of the stuff I didn't like doing. Had more time for testing and time for play. I was just generally happier. My books were doing better at launch, but it didn't start that way. I didn't magically start time blocking. I didn't magically it was sort of an amalgamation of all of these things that worked for me, which is why entrepreneurship is so beautiful and so messy. It's because I could give you every piece of advice that worked for me. I do. I have a podcast and courses and books all about that. And only like 10% will work for you, because like it's all about how you build your stack of stuff.
Yeah.
Always. And I think, guys, now probably we've talked enough about this. We should move to the pivotal side of what you do. You know,
I mean, what? So but this is, I think, this is quite pivotal. The whole planning thing. I mean, I think this chunking things out is very good. But we sort of got off subject a little bit, but that's great. I love that. I love the fact that we went down that path. But so you've got this 1 to 1,000 plus. Tell us about this, because that's where we were going to talk about this on the pivotal side of things. I can definitely see that actually planning and preparing and chunking your day down and doing that. Yeah, listen, we all know that is definitely a good thing to do. And I can honestly tell you, I'm not that organized, and I'm definitely, on my creative side, takes over a lot of the time. But on the pivotal side of things, what is it that you're doing that's getting those successes for your clients with your creative entrepreneur side and things like that? What is it that is pivotal for you that definitely is a big thing, a big changer, big game changer?
Sure. So just to go back to that previous point for 1 second, I just realized, like, I just synthesized all of the things you just said, and I made the reason that I time block is to be protective of Creative Russell's time. Right. So that's like business. Like, my job as an entrepreneur is to, when I hire somebody, to take everything else that they have to do off of their plate so they can do their best work. And for me, as I'm hiring me as a writer or like to do a project, I also feel that same way. So like, I need to be protective of Russell's 9 to 2 time, because that is the way that he's going to be successful. And so the rest of the stuff is sort of like, business Russell can handle that, and like business Russell can take the meetings, and like, but Creative Russell needs to exist in this time. And one of the reasons I love being on podcasts and hearing other people say my own stuff back to me, or like having these conversations, is because like it codifies something that I've never thought before. So to go back to the point we're talking about is, I guess my first question is, do you know Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans idea?
No.
Okay. No. So Kevin Kelly wrote an article, very famous article, called 1,000 True Fans, which posited if you had 1,000 true fans as a creative willing to spend $100 on you a year, you would have a 100,000 person business, and you would be able to be successful, basically, is the general gist. And so that was really pivotal for me. It made me realize that, like, you don't have to be J.K. Rowling to have a successful creative career. You can do it much smaller, more intimate, and still get a big return. So I came up with this system that basically assumes you have no fans. You've never sold somebody. You've never gotten one sale. You have no product. You have no podcast. You got nothing. Maybe you've only got an idea. If you have an idea, if you have actual sales or like podcast numbers or like a mailing list, you can then go into your data, look at the people who have the most have the most interaction and engagement with you, and get a huge return from that. But I'm going to make an assumption that you have 0 of that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the system is 1, 10, 100, 1,000. So the first step is to find one human who is your perfect fan, who is the kind of person who you're going to be selling to. And this takes no money. It just takes a little bit of time. The thing you're looking for is a person who likes you, but not enough to lie to you. So what do I mean by that? No close friends, no family, nobody who has a vested interest in your success. So business partners. The best example is I'm about to go into my 20-year high school reunion, and there are people that I met on Facebook when I graduated high school and college that I've stayed friends with, but I'm not quite sure why I stayed friends with them, because like we don't actually have much in common, but they still like and subscribe, like and comment and on my posts, even though we have not had a relationship in a decade. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Of course.
You got someone in your head that like that you can think of that does that like fits that for you.
Casual gym buddy or something like that, right?
Yes, like someone you maybe had to wear in a bowling league in a decade with, and for some reason they're still posting Like they're still like liking and commenting on the things, even though you've not really interacted very much, which shows that like they know, like, and trust you, but they really don't have a vested interest in like whether you succeed or fail. They just like have an attachment to you for some unknown reason. It's really important that it's for some unknown reason, not children or like someone that you like, not an elderly parent that you're taking care of. And so the second part of that is they have to be when you start a company. You're naturally going to start talking about the thing you want to start before you start it, right? You're going to start talking about podcasting or making a bicycle or writing a book well before you actually like go forward in that process. And it needs to be somebody who is commenting on those types of posts. It can't be someone who's commenting on your knitting or your cats while you're talking about writing a book. Otherwise, like they're not actually going to be in your target market. You can either start making something about knitting or make your thing about knitting, or you have to find someone who specifically talks about, is interested in the thing you're trying to make. Does that make sense?
No, you've lost me personally. I'm lost.
I got
okay,
it.
so
it's like you would ask Elliot, like you would ask Fabi to tell the truth about you, right? You would not ask me because I'm your friend. You'd ask Fabi, you know, my fiance, because not necessarily your friend. You barely seen her. You've seen her just twice or 3 times, and that's it. So you need to look for someone like that.
Right. Okay. Assuming that like she likes the thing that you're going to be talking about. So she would have to be, when you're posting about podcasting, she would be someone who's liking and commenting on your podcasting articles or the post that you're talking that you're looking for.
Right.
Okay. So you've got that person nailed down.
Okay.
And so the next step is you have to reach out to her and have a real conversation, which is literally the hardest part of this whole process. And by doing that, you are you need to find out what it is about you that they like. Like, why have they stuck around for a long time when they could have literally just talked to anybody else? You are not that close. You are not that friendly. Like, you just like have a passing acquaintance, but they seem to have an attachment and an attraction to the thing that you post. And it's really important that you're going to find the psychographic, not demographic data about this person. So the demographic data is how old they are.
Psychographic data, Adrian. Psychographic data. That sounds like a bit of yours, a bit of you. That.
Yeah. Me too. So the demographic data so the demographic data is what we normally focus on in entrepreneurs. How old are they? Where are they from? Like, where do they go to school? Like, do they like Jell-O? Whatever. Like these like questions that will help you narrow targeting. Yeah. Psychographic data is way more important and valuable because it helps you determine your messaging. And the messaging is the thing that is going to make your targeting work or not work. So psychographic data is what they are in their core, who they like what they like what makes them tick. My best example of this is if you described your mother to me, you would not say she's a 65-year-old white woman from Poland who likes soup. You would say she's carrying
miles out. She's a 77-year-old, and in fact, actually, my mum is watching. Hi, Mum. How you doing?
Hello.
Thanks for watching. And she's a 77-year-old Dutch lady. So you're close.
But that is not how you would explain her to me. You would say she's kind, or she's nice, or she really loves knitting, or she makes great soup, or whatever. Like those are the psychographic information. For instance, I showed you before that this little bee behind me is our mascot, Melissa the Wannabe. So she's like rebellious and snarky and subversive, and she's got this like she's the kind of person who would have snuck out to punk clubs like when they were in high school, and then she grew up and got a like desk job, but she still got that like punk rock ethos under her. Does that make sense? So when I describe that to people, almost 100% of the times up to this moment, but it's always a new day, someone can picture somebody in their head that is like that. That like has that spirit that they know personally. And that is and it's really important that when you describe that person, that perfect customer to somebody else, they are able to say, well, that's me, or that's not me, but that's my Aunt Susie, or that's my mother Henny. And these are things, these could be
how the hell
like,
do you know my mum's name is Henny? Oh, you can see it. For anybody who's listening to this as a podcast, by the way, an audio podcast, we are doing this live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook as well, and it'll be available on those places. So go and check it out and see what we're doing.
You can then see the bee behind me as well, and know what we're talking about
Russell as well, of course. Yeah.
But anyway, like it could be elegant, it could be practical, it could be like, what is the brand? Basically, like what is the brand you are already putting off? Like what is the thing that gets people excited about you? And I have authors or creators who like make these really realistic, elegant paintings, and some that make like some of the sloppiest work you've ever seen, but like people love them for different reasons. Right. And so your goal with this first person is to figure out like what your secret sauce is, where they hang out, what they like doing, all of the psychographic and subdemographic information, so you can sort of construct a human. This is what we generally call a ideal customer avatar. I hate that word because it always comes back to demographic information when you talk about customer avatars. And I have fans from 18 to 85, and they have nothing in common except this like punk rocky attitude.
Right.
So it's much more. It's much more powerful to get a sense of who the person is, not just like where they are. Where they are in their life is going to help you determine who your lowest customer acquisition cost and highest lifetime value is to give you the best chance to success. But it is not going to help you right now in the moment, because you're trying to get messaging and get a product for these people. So now you've got 1. The next step is 10. How do you think you get from 1 to 10?
Well, I have no idea at the moment, to be honest. No idea at all.
Find 9 more, like the first one.
Exactly. So you go from, and now I give these nice clean numbers. These nice clean numbers may not like actually work. It might be 7. It might be 13. But what you're trying to find is consistency across all of these people and what they like from you. Okay. That you're going to find that first person is going to be like right about 10% and wrong about 90%. Or like you can risk like, well, 10 of 10 people like my rebellious punk rock attitude. And 3 people said I was an elegant, like dainty princess. And like, I'm just going to discount that thing because it's like clearly ridiculous. But it's going to show you across the board sort of what makes up your core person.
I suppose you mean similarities, no? So that's
yes. Your similarities, where you'll see where they hang out, or like what brands they like, all the things that they associate with. And again, this has cost you no money. Yeah. And once you have this 10 people, they're going to be your first focus group to pre-validate the idea that you have. And so,
from 10 to 100 and to 1,000, then.
Yes. So before 10, I use the example of bikes. And so imagine you wanted to make a bicycle. A bicycle is very expensive to validate. So we're going to put that aside for the moment. And the pre-validation step will be like a $20 kickstand. You have talked to these people about what they like about bicycles. And they've all said something about like, well, the kickstands are always crap or junk. And so your job now is to find a product that will resonate with these 10 people that they will actually buy. And this is all a very, very, very important step, because people will say they want a thing, but they do not actually mean that they want that thing. So you have to figure out when they say this, what they really mean is this. This is the most annoying part, because you sometimes have to pre-validate like 5, 10, 15 times, because you make a landing page or a PayPal page and you say, here's this thing that you wanted. And then nobody buys, or one person buys. And it's not until 5, 8, 10 people really buy that you are going to like have some consistency, that you're going to be like, okay, now I've got it. I've got what the people want. And you've now proven that your product that you have something that this group of people wants and willing to buy for. And was willing to buy. It's important in this pre-validation stage that the thing is not too expensive or too cheap. So I don't like $5 because people will give you $5 to just shut up. I don't like $100 because $100, someone could love your product, but it's too expensive. Right. I like $20 because like $20 isn't nothing, but we also blow $20 relatively easily, like on things that we like. Going to a movies here is like $20. Going to a dinner is like $40. So like we're constantly like spending $20 bills or 20 pound notes.
Yeah.
And so I like that number. Books are that number. Like a kickstand can be that number. But whatever it is, the pre-validation step is about making a little product that the people who already know, like, and trust you will then buy.
Yeah.
And once you've got 8 or 10 people buying, now you've got a profit. And a business is 3 things, really. When it's a audience, it's a product, and it's a profit.
Yeah.
Once you've got those 3 things, you've got a business. It may not be a super successful business, but it is something that you can then take the profit from that product and reinvest it into marketing. And so now you've finished the 10 step. And our job at 100 is to you've now figured out how to get someone who knows, likes, and trusts you to buy from you. Now your job is to find some people who don't know you at all and create a process that is replicable so that they cannot know you into buying from you. And this means infiltrating, joining the community and like finding people to bring into your ecosystem, whether that's in an autoresponder sequence or a funnel. There's all sorts of ways that you can create this process through chat bots, or there's all sorts of, and it does not have to be expensive or even cost you anything. Your goal is, though, you can't now have a PayPal page, because the PayPal page is for a person who already knows you. You have to like probably spend some of that profit on branding or a website or something to make it look real. An email service provider or something to make you look like a business.
Yeah.
And now you have, but the best thing about what you have at this stage is they used to call them tripwire offers. Now they call them micro offers. So if you do this right at the beginning stage, by the time you get from 10 to 100, you're going to have a profitable system that you can literally use to spend on marketing and increase your mailing list on for free. Now, it's not free, it's free. It costs the marketing money, but by the time you take all of the costs out for product, you have now like broken even.
Okay, so in essence, what we're talking about here, I mean, this is the standard operating procedure if you want to market something, you want to get your brand out there, your business out there, and the client acquisition ladder, all sorts of different things that you can utilize, and I get what you're saying, but what's the one pivotal thing that works? Because all of that's a massive stuff. I mean, everything you've gone over so far is a huge amount of work. There's not one thing there that I think is pivotal. It's because you're talking about, you've got the layers of posts that you've got to go out and engaging with your audience and trying to find people and engaging with them and getting conversations going with them and finding other people. We all understand that's a massive, huge marketing process. It's a machine that you're trying to do. But what is it that you do that makes all that work, though? Because
I don't necessarily. I talk to hundreds of people, creatives and entrepreneurs, and almost all of them start with, they already have a product that they are already working on, and they have no audience for that product. So, for instance, the number one question that I get is, "What should I make for what should I make?" And it's a complete lack of understanding of the actual audience. So the difference in the pivotal shift that I try to teach people is that starting with a product is the wrong way to think about this, and thinking about scale is the wrong way to think about this. The one word I hate more than anything in business is scale, and that is where the conversation has started.
You hate a lot of things about business, don't you?
I do. I really do.
I'm feeling a lot of hate for the creatives and things like that. I mean, and what sort of goes on around it. Why is that? Is that a frustration that you've had before? Is that what you try to get over?
I mean, I love the actual parts of business. Like, if people taught business in a way that like actually functionally worked, instead of telling people to start with scale and then work backwards, or like that they can get to scale in 2 weeks, or that it's more complicated than it needs to be. I love running my business. I don't like how it's taught. I don't like this idea of starting with a product and then working backwards to an audience. I don't like this idea that like you'll be happy when you hit 10,000 people on your email list, because like what that ends up doing is it sends people into this frenzy to get 10,000 people on their email list, and then they've wasted $10,000, $20,000 because they don't even know who the audience is that they're buying for.
Listen, it's always about the audience, but you've got to understand who you want your audience to be as well. I mean, that's there's a clarity in that, knowing who your target audience is, who is your ideal, your avatar, as you said earlier on.
Okay, so basically what you've described there is the fact that you hate the fake gurus and what they teach, and we all do the same, to be honest. Yeah, fuck them all. But now I just want to ask you something, because I've seen, obviously, you use Kickstarter as a crowdfunding platform, right? So most people probably don't do that, especially here in UK. I don't think many people do that, right? And what you're doing is very clever. I've seen your books on Kickstarter, and that means that's the fact that's going to give you some money before that, and to promote and for marketing and all that stuff. But how do you find those people to back you up on Kickstarter?
Good question.
So it is a lot about building the crowd beforehand, just like anything else. But the beauty about Kickstarter, especially if you're using a creative process, is there are communities of people who are actually launching at the same time as you. And the easiest way to have success on Kickstarter is to leverage other projects that are working at the same time as you are, and like contact those creators and try and like do update swaps, or try and talk to the other people about doing some joint promotion while it's together. Now, joint promotions is something that we've dealt with in business forever, right? But Kickstarter is so different in the fact that everything is transparent. So you can literally go to Kickstarter and you can research the exact amount of money that a project made. You can look at their entire page, their entire sales page, how many images and how much text they had. You can see the exact reward tiers, and you can compare them with each other. You can use a product like KickTrack to actually like see how much money they made in any given day. Right. So that's really like the unfair advantage that Kickstarter gives you, is like you can go and study Todd Brown or Russell Brunson's like funnel, but you don't actually know how much they made from that funnel. You know how much they told you that they made from that funnel, but the number is not there, like right there at the beginning.
This man could have quite a lot of information on that side. To be fair, he knows some shit.
Yeah, so every product that's ever launched on Kickstarter, success or failure, like shows all of the data. Right. And also, because Kickstarter is a platform, there are usually dozens, probably hundreds of projects in any category going at any one time. And they all have their contact button. So you can actually contact the creators, and you can find things that are working like your project, that are funding roughly the same time for roughly the same amount. And you can then use that to do joint venture marketing, like on the spot, without having to like set up these things months in advance. So I contact 20 or 30 projects, maybe 40 projects during the course of a campaign to try and get them to do like update swaps or to talk about my project on social media. And every time it brings back hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for me, because my page is very finely tuned to the people that I already talked to.
Okay, but basically you're saying now that if I'm doing a kickstand, I can very well just go and contact someone that does a bike on Kickstarter and try to do a joint promotion with them. That's right?
Absolutely. You could do that. You can contact other people who are making any sort of complementary or even the same product. There may be two different people that are selling kickstands, and maybe you can coordinate with them. It works a little bit different than that. Your probably idea of contacting a bike. A person who makes a bike, if you're making a kickstand, is better than contacting two kickstand people. But there are other categories like film or books or some other form of product where like you're not constructing. Like someone's probably only going to buy one drone, but people are going to buy like hundreds of books. So if you were going to do a drone, you would want to find like a complementary product that someone who likes buying it, who's they bought a drone, and when they buy a drone, they usually also buy a bathing suit. I don't know, and then coordinate those two together. Or as opposed to with books, which is my category, people are like buying a book, and what they're looking for is more books.
Fascinating. I mean, I've definitely learned stuff this evening. I mean, we've definitely covered some serious subjects. How the hell you keep all this in your head? I have absolutely no idea at all. No wonder you have to chunk your days down, because you are a very passionate guy. You've got a hell of a lot of information up there that you obviously utilize. But I think there's some pretty interesting stuff that you've gone over that I will be going away and having a look at. That's for sure. I did look actually at crowdfunding when I first wanted to set up Essex Business Radio, which is sort of sponsored by Forge Management. And there was people on there that have been listed for years. It's clearly not an area people want to sort of donate money to or put money into at all on podcasting. So that was a no-no. That's the only time I've ever really looked at it, apart from a product I invested in a few years ago. But a lot of people use it, and it's definitely something that they can learn from you. And you've got books on this, right?
So I have a free Kickstarter course if you're interested in Kickstarter. If you go to thecompletecreative.com/FBC, B like boy.
Yeah.
Oh, nope, that's not right. FKC, which is free Kickstarter course. Sorry, I have two different courses. Thecompletecreative.com/FKC. It is my free Kickstarter course. And then I also have a book called How to Build Your Creative Career, which covers all the 5 pillars of building a successful creative business.
I love that. And you are definitely a creative. However, you have got a massively analytical side to your brain as well, haven't you? I mean, you've gone into some serious depth with a few things. We've lost Adrian there. You've gone into some serious depth with a few things there that are definitely going to make me think about how I operate and I work. Let's just bring Adrian back in. Little technical hitch there, Adrian.
I just clicked on. I realized I wanted to click on the private chat, and I clicked on the login button, so that's why it just kicked me out. I just want to send the link that you said.
Who gives a shit? But yeah, no. Listen, Russell. Where else can everybody find you, Russell? I mean, you've given obviously the details there of your free course, and I'll be checking that out for sure. And I urge everybody else to, because you clearly have a mind, not only a creative but an analytical, and you're a writer. So I'm assuming your courses are shit hot, to be fair. So I should be checking that out. But where else can everybody find you, Russell?
Sure. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Russell Nohelty. I'm on Facebook at The Complete Creative. You can go, if you like magic, mythology, and monsters, then I do a ton of cool fantasy books, including my Godsverse Chronicles at russellnohelty.com.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll make sure that there's links around that. Here is the link for Your Complete Creative, which has just been put out there. So that's so there's a link there and that's for your course as well. Well, Russell, listen, I wish you all the best with what you're doing. I don't think you need a great deal of help. It sounds like you're pretty well sorted in your organizational side of things. That's for sure. I'm assuming you have to be, because of your creative side could maybe get you to sway off subject. And we go back to the beginning of the show, where that was definitely an area I think that you understood that from being a creative and a writer, and probably not having a regimental way of doing things, to almost go in the opposite way, where you've got to do those in a particular order, and if you don't get that done, then you don't feel like you're moving ahead. Listen, I definitely am party to doing things the wrong way like that, being creative and not chunking those time things down. So I think that's been a great thing, and we've learned loads of other shit from you as well, Russell. I mean, I love that. There's a lot to be taken from it. What do you reckon, Adrian?
Yeah, definitely. No, like I said, I was really interested in the Kickstarter and all that, and also the way how you find the right, the audience from not from the demographic side, but from the other side, and it's really good.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for joining us, Russell. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you.
No problem at all. And good luck with all of the podcasts that you're going to be getting on. So you want to do 100 when did you want to do 100 by?
By the end of this month.
And what you
probably will be next month when I hit all 100. But I've done maybe 6 today. so far.
Wow, Jesus. I'm surprised you're not drinking, because when I do these, I have to have a drink, and you haven't had one drink. I know either that,
Yeah,
you've got a pipe. You've got a pipe going straight in or something of you, so you can talk and not drink. That's a good skill.
I will stop. I'll stop in the next 2 minutes because I've got one right after this, and I'll get some water, refresh myself, throw some water in my face, and then get right back to it.
Great stuff. Well, good luck with that, and let us know when you get to the 100. Obviously, we're going to make sure there's a link around the post and on YouTube and stuff like that when it's when we sort of post that up. Well, it's already gone live, but with the video. But thanks very much, Adrian. Thank you very much for co-hosting with me this evening. And
thank you, guys. Yep.
Thank you to Russell Nohelty.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, we got it right. And thanks very much, guys, for joining us. We've had a small audience, but I do know that there's going to be people watching this afterwards and over the coming days and catching up with this on YouTube. Obviously, you can find Essex Business Radio virtually everywhere on all social media platforms, apart from Twitter, which is Essex Biz Radio, BIZZ. Obviously, YouTube as well. Get over there, subscribe wherever you can, and like, and make sure you get alerted so you can find out when we're going live. And we go live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week at 9 p.m. And Adrian and I are chatting about some other stuff that we're going to be bringing to you as well, aren't we, Adrian?
Yeah, but that's a surprise, so we're going to let you know a bit later then.
We will let you know probably next week when we finalise what we're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks again, Russell. Thanks very much, Adrian.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, guys, for watching. If you want to download the app and you want to listen to this and audio, by the way, then we have a free app, the Essex Business Radio app, available at all good app stores. And obviously, the audio is out there as well. Check Essex Business Radio. And this is the Pivotal Podspective. Thanks very much, guys. So we're going to sign off for now. So it's ciao for now.
Brown cow.
Hey.